Hey everybody, welcome to another video. This one will not be a guide, rather it will be my formal review of the game you all know and love in its latest form, that is Cataclysm. I talked about how the impressions this game makes on Blizzard's audience will be the determining factor for the lifespan of WoW, and I stand by that opinion today. I'm going to bring you this review after having played through the majority of the launch day content and after leveling a druid to 85 over the course of about 4 days. I played a lot of Warcraft to feel that I have a pretty thorough opinion of the product to date, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video. Needless to say, my eyes hurt. So let's get started. You can see that Blizzard finally added the Maelstrom to the map, and you can actually go there. I got pretty excited when I found out they were doing this because I'm a pretty huge fan of the storyline in the Warcraft universe. I honestly believe that the level of depth in video game storytelling rivals modern day movies and books, and I'm very adamant about any story that really captures my interest. Warcraft's tale is such a story, and I can tell you without a second thought that the storyline is what caused me to pick up World of Warcraft, and it's pretty much the only reason I still play today. Now, I'm a nerd, but I'm not that big of a nerd. I'm as much of a jock as I am a nerd, but you gotta respect a good story. It doesn't matter how it's told. Now, what I'm getting at is, that's what I enjoyed most about this game. Now, I'm by no means a Blizzard fanboy, and I'll be the first to tell you I think they've done a bang-up job telling the story through the MMO so far, but that hasn't prevented me from thoroughly enjoying what they have managed to portray effectively. Now, with that said, I always understood since after reading the War of the Ancients trilogy that the Maelstrom was caused by the implosion of the Well of Eternity, shortly after Malfurion and Illidan closed the Highborn's portal on top of Sargeras' face, which caused a cataclysmic disaster in the world at the time. Now, this was like 10,000 years ago on the timeline, way before Thrall was even around and before orcs even lived on Azeroth. It essentially blew up the world, which happened to be a single continental mass at the time, very similar to the way planet Earth used to be comprised of a single supercontinent known as Pangaea. After the explosion, the sea flooded over the landmass, and all that remained was Kalimdor, Northrend, and the Eastern Kingdoms. So, what is all this nonsense about the Maelstrom being caused by Deathwing's emergence? Why is Thrall suddenly the individual responsible for maintaining the balance between Azeroth and the elemental planes? And why hasn't Blizzard explained any of this nonsense? I'll go with the concept that Deathwing's emergence caused the Maelstrom to act up and start shifting the balance of things around, yeah, sure, but I really don't agree with how they somehow changed the storyline behind our backs about the Maelstrom. They kind of just plopped down this new explanation and expected us to go with it just because it fit the profile for Horde versus Alliance unity better. I thought that was a load of crap, but I'm still happy the Maelstrom is finally a part of the world and we can go there. So that's the big blob in the middle of the map, probably the first thing you'll notice. Now, when I first logged in, like most people, the first thing I did was train the latest flight skill. I don't even know what they're calling it anymore, but it doesn't even really matter. I trained it and I flew up into the sky. I gotta say, I was very impressed. All of this data had been on the server since patch 4.0 came out, but we couldn't appreciate any of it until this moment. It was rather glorious to fly over Stormwind and see the scale of it all. For those of you that are contemplating coming back to the game after a while, you gave it up already, whatever, this may be pretty interesting to you. The Stormwind that once was is gone. The same can be said for Orgrimmar. Instead of creating a new sanctuary like Sitrath or Dalaran, Blizzard remodeled the two unofficial capitals of the Horde and the Alliance and made them even more monumental than the two said cities. If I had to guess, I'd say Stormwind has grown in size about 50%. It's fully functional and majorly badass. Blizzard has made a lot of improvements to the graphics engine of the game, and although it still runs off modern hardware like crap, at times it looks relatively modern. I've never been one to play games for the graphics, but it's definitely refreshing to see the world in its current state. You can tell they've been putting a lot of effort into updating the world, and that shows that they still care about updating the appearance in today's gaming world. Because the game is, what, like 6 years old now? Alright, so shortly after I flew around a bit, I went into one of the new zones. Let's take Vashir, for example. This place is so colorful and full of life. The art direction is truly unique and stands out today. I never expected to see such a vast zone in WoW, and compared to everything Blizzard has done to the game so far, it looks totally alien. Overall, I was very impressed with the place, and although the bright colors hurt my eyes at times, the experience really left everything else so far in the game in terms of art and graphics behind. The sheer size of this place is simply mind-boggling. I won't go into too much about the lore, but if you're like me and you love that stuff, this zone is full of it. We haven't heard about Queen Ishara or the truth behind the Naga since the well blew up, and this ancient history in terms of the game's timeline really adds to a lot to the experience. With the addition of this enormous zone, and the major facelift that has been done to Azeroth as a whole, World of Warcraft is undoubtedly the largest virtual world known to humanity, except of course for the Matrix. And that coming from someone who loves to play all the modern sandbox games. It's massive, ladies and gentlemen, and it isn't a bunch of repeated textures and models. This particular zone is really diverse and impressive. Blizzard has also done a great job making the player feel important in the world. At this point in time, if you're level 80, we've all spent an absurd amount of time playing the game, just admit it. So it should feel like it, right? Why after all that time would our characters be some everyday peon that collects cooking materials for quests? They're supposed to be heroes. So they waste no time introducing you to big name characters like Neltharion in his latest form, Ragnaros, Malfurion Stormrage, and a host of others that have been around since the dawn of time. This made it easy for me to get really involved in the story, as I felt I was dealing with the epic theme of the game on a much more realistic scale when the godlike characters were right in front of my face making a scene. The storyline was very involved at some times, especially in Mount Hyjal. Between meeting and doing the bidding of mega hot dragon aspects, seeing Malfurion, and fighting beside the demigods, namely Cenarius, I felt I actually wanted to do quests for more than just gain experience. This is something that Blizzard has failed to do time and time again, but has begun to change. At times, the cinematography of the game was very inclusive, and they actually made great use of cutscenes to make things feel a lot more personal. Some of the voice acting was terrific, like this scene here.
On the horizon is our destination. It's where we will do our duty for our king, for Stormwind, and for her people. Every horde you slay today will bring honor to them and to every soldier who has come before you. Hellscream has sent his best to take this island. We shall see to it that none return home! Today, Hellscream shall learn the lesson that Thrall failed to teach him. Stormwind shall never fall! Now, make ready. Soon will be ashore.
Beyond the whole presentation of the game, which dwarfs that of the previous expansions, the leveling experience just didn't feel the same. It wasn't less fulfilling necessarily, but it definitely seemed less significant to me. Now, I can totally understand why Blizzard chose to increase the level cap by only 5. Assuming they have realistic plans for 3 more expansions, I can see why they would have wanted to keep the characters' level caps to double digits until they decided to end the game, but it just didn't feel quite right. It's true what they said. The power gain from level 80 to 85 is comparable to levels 60 to 70 and 70 to 80, but it's just really compacted. Essentially what I noticed is the first 2 level gains are fairly insignificant, but immediately after you level from 83 to 84 and from 84 to 85, you'll notice an absolutely extreme devaluation of your previous statistics. A good example is how my crit rate plummeted from 68% to 28% in 2 levels. It was just overkill. It was like growing up too fast. I don't feel like it took long enough either, yet at level 85 my character is completely changed. Between the overly inflated gear differentials and the enormous influx of stamina, It is completely different than the previous two expansions. The idea that Blizzard is trying to be universally friendly to the entirety of the gamer spectrum has been made blatantly obvious in this transformation. I strongly feel that much of this strategy has been aimed at profiting off of the short-lived infatuation with this newfound power in both players returning to the game and among the new players. I don't, however, feel this is a good choice for the life of the product, and fear that although the changes made to the stats have caused a great deal more balance on the PvP side of things, trying to balance the game around both PvP and PvE is a flawed effort to begin with. I think they took a big risk in trying to monotonize the game to get a larger community approval in terms of rated battlegrounds and such. I really do hope it pays off for them though, but only time will tell. You'll understand what I'm talking about when you hit level 85. With that said, it feels very strange walking around in caster form with over 100,000 hit points. It's going to take a lot of adjusting to, and the combat is a lot different, but from what I can tell, these huge changes have had a pretty positive impact on the combat system overall. I'm just kind of concerned to see what things look like towards the tail end of this expansion. All in all though, I am fairly satisfied with Cataclysm. The leveling experience, as well as the cinematography and the graphic improvements, more than justify the $40 price tag to upgrade from Wrath of the Lich King, but the continued fees for the games will prove their worth in future content. I really hope Blizzard can deliver and keep the game as exciting as it has been so far since the game launched, and avoid another stale year like we had at the end of the last expansion. So far so good, guys. I won't stop making videos, and you can expect me to update some material soon. I hope you enjoyed this review of the game, and as I conclude, I would recommend Cataclysm to anyone who is looking to have a great time and enjoy playing a multiplayer game with your friends. Have a great time, guys. I'll see you next time.